Hello and welcome to the Cranky Old Gamer. I've got some good news. I have been accepted as an official reviewer for IDW Games. They're not the only games I'm going to be doing, they've just accepted me. And the nice thing is they are not paid reviews, so I am not in any way obligated to automatically give them good reviews. They want fair and honest reviews. That said, their first game that they've given me is Torres, and I really liked it. So, Torres is designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling, and it is a castle building game that at first glance, you would be forgiven for thinking, well, wow, this kind of looks like a bigger version of Santorini. Absolutely not. For one thing, Torres came out in 1999. IDW has gotten the rights and they are doing the 3rd edition reprint. The 2nd edition was by Rio Grande Games, and they've redesigned the pieces a little bit, made it a little more colorful, but they've kept the whole core of the game. This is definitely not Santorini. We kind of made that mistake, actually, my group, when we first played it. We were trying to play it like Santorini, and it's not. The whole point of the game, you start on the board with each one of you having a knight in one of the 6 castles on the board, plus a king, and from there you have 5 action points. You can use those action points to build a castle, to place a knight, you can draw one of your cards, you can move your knight, or you can just straight up move down the scoring track if you really need that 1 point. Scoring is entirely based on 2 things. 1, how broad the base of your castle is, and 2, how many knights you have in different castles. That was kind of the problem we had. The game plays over the course of 3 years, each year being several rounds. We played the first year thinking, oh, gotta get our knights to the top. No, that is not how you score. If I have 1 knight in a castle, he's the only one scoring that castle. Any other knights in that castle, I just wasted my time. But if I have a knight in this castle and a knight in this castle, I get both points. Then from there, it's the size of the base of the castle. If I am on whatever story of the castle, I multiply that by how big the base of the castle is. So if I'm on the 2nd story and the base of the castle is 5 blocks, I just made 10 points. If I'm on the 3rd story, I just made 15. You can go as high as you want, which is cool. It's not like Santorini where you can only build up to the 3rd floor. You can have like 6-story castles if you want. You could have a 6-story castle with a 4-block base and boom, you just made 24 points. Once you've got that out of your head, that this is its own game, I hammer this home only because we really screwed up. Once you have that in your head, and do not compare this to any other games, it's really fun. Scoring can get pretty complicated, but it's really neat to see those multipliers roll in and just watch your knight go around the scoring track. That's pretty cool. And the castles stay as each year goes on. It was really cool seeing these little castles that we had built in year 1 that by the end of year 3 were enormous and just racking up the points. Or seeing like, I just built this big castle, I'm on the top and I multiply it. Well, my opponent's on the next floor down and they get that multiplier too, but they've got these castles over here and they just beat me. So, players also each have their own very small deck of cards. Now this deck has to last you the whole game. There is no reshuffle. And you know exactly what is in this deck. When you buy cards, you don't just draw from the top, you draw the top 3. You choose the one you want, and then take the remaining 2, and you can either put them on the top or on the bottom. So if there's a card, I want this card right now, but this card's pretty good too. I'm gonna put this on top. The card afterwards, I don't have any use for that. I'm gonna put that down at the bottom. But again, the deck is only 10 cards thick, so you're gonna go through this within the span of your game. Cards allow special movement of your knights, like you can jump stories, you can build extra. Instead of using what your pool is, you can actually draw extra castle tiles from the main supply. There's 2 cards that come in really handy. One gives you 7 action points, one gives you 6. So that just adds a little bit more of what you can do each turn. The only catch is when you buy a card, you cannot use it that season. You have to wait until the next season. That said, this is a very tactile game with a lot of really cool pieces and a lot of building, so let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at the components and I'll show you how to play. So here we have the base board of the game. It is a very small board. I think it's only like 14 inches by maybe 2 feet. You already start with the little castle pieces here on designated places. You can see they've got markers. Each player starts with a certain number of castles. They are all the same, and they do interlock. If you're playing a 4-player game, each person starts with two-story castles. This is important. As you go around, you have your knights. Let's see how much I can zoom in on these. They are kind of little bullet-shaped guys. They pretty cool looking. They're all the same, just different colors. You take one, you put it at the 0 on the scoring track, and then you take one, and you can choose when it is your turn to place your knight on any castle in the game. Once all of the players have chosen, the final player gets to choose the king and where he goes. Let's see if that'll zoom in on him. He's a little bit bigger. And slippery. Where the king goes actually does add to your point total. It just adds to your multiplier. Each player has a deck of cards, like so, as I said, and each card allows you to do different things. If you don't fully understand what the symbol means, there is an entire piece of paper that explains each one. This is pretty self-explanatory, 7 action points. When it is your turn, you can take any of these actions. Action 1, it takes 2 action points, would be to place a knight anywhere on the board. You can also choose to move your knight at the cost of 1 action point per movement. You may place a castle block. And if you say, use 1 piece from this tower, and you don't use this piece by the end of the season, you do have to distribute this to another tower for another season. You can only have towers in your personal supply up to 3 high. On the board, they can be as tall as you want. You can make a giant skyscraper. You may also buy your action cards at a cost of 1 AP per card and only up to 2 cards per season. It costs you nothing to use an action card. Or if you really want to waste your points, you can just pay an action point to move your knight 1 space on the board. Seems kind of wasteful to me, but I'm sure there's some strategy in it. So let's take a look at some scoring. The wider the base of your castle, the more points you're going to earn. So let's say, hypothetically, I've managed to build this castle. This is 10 spaces large. If I move this here, and I have a knight on that second level, my scoring is 2 for the level I'm on, multiplied by the base. So this is a 20-point castle right here. So let's say I've managed to build this, and I move up to here. This does not matter, but this is a level 3 times 10. This is a 30-point castle. Now let's say there's another castle over here. This is 9 spaces, so this would be a 9-point castle if I had a guy right here. Let's go ahead and build this up to a 27-point castle, shall we? So now I've got 27 plus 30, so I just made 57 points. Now if I have this guy here, he does not matter at all. Only the man on the highest level matters. But if he's over here, now I get the scoring for this. Now I have 3 castles. This kind of setup will never happen because obviously you're going to have other players, but this just kind of gives you an idea of where the scoring lies. Now, right now, my green knight is going to get 30 points for this castle. But let's say Mr. Purple comes along and he manages to get here. I get 30. He still gets 20 because he's on the next level down. Another thing I would like to point out, this is a completely separate castle. It is not joined. Castles cannot be built together. They cannot overwhelm other castles. So I could not, this is an illegal move right here. They can, however, be diagonal like this to keep them separate. In the end, whoever has the most knights on the highest levels of all the castles is going to win the scoring track. And that's how you play Torres. So as you can see, by the end of the year, that board is going to get pretty cluttered. But you can't connect castles diagonally, as I said, so you're still going to be able to determine which castle is which. I've taken a look at some of the older editions of the game, and I definitely like IDW's version. They really made the colors pop with that kind of tan beige color. The other just had a flat gray with just little tiny pieces. I kind of like the bullet-shaped knights. They're kind of cute. Beyond mild aesthetics, though, they really came at this game with the approach of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I had not heard of this game before they sent it to me, and I really wish I had. This is a really fun game. My group really enjoyed it. The only downside we had is generally my group tends to be 6 people, and this does only play 4. The last thing I do want to go over that I didn't cover in the components are what are called master cards. They're not credit cards. They are special victory conditions. They are completely optional. You do not have to play with these. What you do, there's a deck of 8 cards. You shuffle them up, and you draw the top one and put it into play. The first person to meet the requirements of this card gets to claim it and its victory points. For example, this master card, if all of your knights are on different levels at the end of year 3, you gain 40 victory points. This one here, if all of your knights are on the same level at the end of year 3, you get 50 victory points. That's pretty cool. They add a little bit of strategy to the game. Do you want to just focus on castle building, or do you want to start moving your knights in order to get those bonus points? Up to you, but it does, I don't know, it added some fun. We only played a couple of games with these. They just kind of change things up a bit for you. Can't go wrong there, right? All right, guys, so once again, this is Torres by IDW Games. It plays 2 to 4 players, and it actually just got released, as of the time of this recording, last week. So it is a brand new game. Go check it out. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed what you've seen, do check out my website at thecrankyoldgamer.com. I put all my videos there. I put all kinds of news there when I get the chance. For example, I was just talking about how they are releasing not only a digital version of Scythe, but a RTS video game based in the Scythe world. That really excited me. And I also put any kind of news. For example, I had to skip a video last week, and I explained why on my website. Anything upcoming, any kind of news that's important to the channel, it's right there. If you like pictures, please check out my Instagram, The Cranky Old Gamer. I put all kinds of stuff there, mostly board games, but also stuff about my life. And if you like what you see and you want to help out, please consider donating to my Patreon. There's a link at the end of the credits, and if you donate, you get your name in the credits. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you later.